Fire Call, the Fire Safety Show with Division Chief Jim Sideras.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sideras, and you are watching Fire Call, where we take you behind the scenes of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Here we are at Station 10. Crew just got back from a call, and nothing more than a crew with a clean truck to make people happy. We got a really neat show. We have we're going to talk to the chief. Chief has some cool news that the citizens are really going to want to hear. We're also going to go inside a technical rescue. We had someone trapped, and we have some of the crew that helped that person get out of that technical rescue. We're going to talk about what those are, and we're going to have a house fire. We had a house fire recently, and we're going to talk to the crew there, and we're going to have the firefighter challenge to see how fast does it take to dig out a fire hydrant. Dead of winter, we need some help with those fire hydrants, and you're going to see how much time it takes for one of our stout firefighters to dig out a hydrant. But as always, we got some shout outs, and if we use your shout out or your question, you're going to get a very cool Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt in the mail. Everybody wants one. Not everyone gets one though, only for those good questions and good shout outs. Now what's a shout out? Some of those firefighters out there want a shout out to announce their fire department, and we'll put it on over the air just like this first one. This first shout out's from Brandon. Brandon lives in, Yadkinville, North Carolina, and he wants a shout out to the Courtney Volunteer Fire Department, where he's going to be a junior firefighter. This shout out is from Melody. Melody lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and not only a shout out, she has a special shout out. Turns out that she wants a shout out. Her son-in-law is Bob Small, who's on the Sioux Falls Fire Department. He's not the chief, you'll meet the chief, but Bob's just about doing everything else for the fire department. And he's at Station 6, and she wants to give a shout out to the crew at Station 6 for all the good work they do. And matter of fact, we're going to visit that crew out of Station 6 because they were at that fire. So that's going to be kind of, we got a double one for you. And Dakari lives in Pierre, South Dakota. He wants a shout out to the Pierre Volunteer Fire Department, Pierre, South Dakota. So sit back, turn off all that electronic stuff. It's time to watch Sioux Falls Fire Rescue and hang with us. This is my old friend Dan Schneider. Dan's the driver, Station 6, driving the big rig. He's driving Truck 6. Dan, you were first on scene at this house fire. Dead of winter, it's cold out. What did you see when you got here, and what were some of your main concerns as a driver?
As we turned off of Marion Road out there, we noticed there was a lot of smoke right away, so we knew that we couldn't operate on tank water, that we had to have an established water supply right away, and that differs a little bit from some of the routine calls where maybe you had toast burning or something like that. So immediately coming in, I'm looking for a hydrant that's out. And around the corner back there, we saw one, but it wasn't dug out, so that wasn't our first choice, and it was a pretty good pull from there. Along with that, in cold weather, the longer you pull your lines, your supply lines, the more chances it is for them to freeze up.
Sure, get a couple blocks, it's going to be a problem for you.
It is, because if after we get into this overhaul phase like we are now, we don't move any water and they're freezing up, and it just gets to be quite an issue trying to keep everything going. Today's weather wasn't too bad, but it would really change it if it was like 20 or 25 below zero.
Next week.
Right, exactly. Today wasn't too bad in positioning the truck as we rolled up. Right away we had smoke coming out of the windows.
Yeah, flames on approach.
Flames on approach. It was licking up over the top already. We had two windows that flames were already coming out of, so it was a big thing for us. We knew that we weren't going to go in right away because there was no life safety hazard. We knew that the house had already been cleared. Kind of knew where we could see where it was. We pulled our supply line immediately, hooked up. We set up our
found a hydrant that was dug out.
It was actually dug out, and we really thank the homeowners for that, because that can make a significant difference to us. As hard as the snow is right now, it might be the difference for us between saving a structure and it being gone when we're done, because it's 5 minutes that we have to do digging in the snow, and as hard as it is, it's very hard work. Along with that, it wastes two firefighters. Now we're tired and shot, ready to go into the next one. So that's a beneficial factor there, the homeowners digging out their hydrants. So these people were lucky. Whoever did it, be commended for cleaning them out. As I pulled up here, if we look back here the way the truck is sitting, I'd pulled it up so that we could get the ladder between the trees, and of course, in hindsight, I would have pulled up farther, we'd had a better shot at it, but There's so many things we're thinking about when we're coming up. I didn't notice that we had a bigger space up here.
And then as you get in, what are you thinking of now? You had a lot of heat, a lot of smoke.
Right.
What are some of the concerns you had going in?
I wanted to get the water there as quick as I can. That's the driver's primary concern, is having all the equipment ready for our firefighters and the next in units to come in and be able to have everything available so that they can work expeditiously.
And then we can take everything off your truck, all the lines off your truck, leave everybody else freed up, essentially, for their equipment and the hose lines.
Right. Because if, like, for instance, right now we're kind of wrapping down this operation. If any other apparatus needed to go to another fire, they're ready to go. So we've only got one unit essentially out of service. And if we had to, we could probably be back ready to roll in like 5 minutes. But we don't want to delay all the rest of these trucks that are out here, putting all their equipment away. So I believe that we only have equipment off our truck, and that's the best way to keep track of it. It doesn't get lost. And as the driver, I keep track of everything people pull off. They ask me what equipment they take off. And so I've got kind of an inventory, what went in. And I can ask then probably a specific crew, hey, what did you do with such and such a piece of equipment? Makes us be able to recover faster so we can be ready if another incident follows very quickly.
Now I noticed you even had put sand down around your truck because you're going to get a lot of water here. It's going to be freezing. So you're also worried about some prevention of injuries too.
Yes. A thing that I do, and I think most drivers do it, is they go around and they look at all of the places that the firefighters have to walk, anybody that operates out here. And if there's anything that's a hazard, we can communicate that to safety officer or mitigate it as much as we can. And for us, we carry sand and salt and stuff like that. Plus, we can go and maybe use some off the other trucks, and then I'll let those drivers know so they can replenish that when they get back. Because an injury is a bad thing. It takes a lot of people out of it. And of course, it distracts firefighters from our primary concern at the moment, taking care of the structure.
Well, when you got gear on, you got a tank on, you got a helmet on, you slip and fall.
Yep, changes your center of balance, you flop back, you have a lot of shoulder injuries because people are trying to catch themselves falling. So really, safety is our utmost concern. We never want to get anybody hurt.
Well, Dan, I appreciate your hard work and your dedication to our organization.
All right, thanks.
Got a really interesting question, and this one comes from Holly. Holly lives in Hampstead, Maryland. Holly wants to know about, she lives out in the country, and they have a lot of grain silos, and about getting people out of those grain silos. Well, we have a lot of grain silos here, but we just had a rescue of something very similar. We had a worker who was trapped in a containment of sand. They use sand to make concrete blocks. Got trapped in it and required technical rescue because the sand had pretty much engulfed him. And when we have these kind of rescues, there are some really critical things that we have to keep in mind. Speed is of the essence because these people can be very traumatized and hurt. Also, very dangerous situation for our firefighters because they have to do a very technical rescue, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. And one of the people that was on that call is Captain Al Hallstrom. And Al, you were on that call, 60 feet up in the air, trying to get this person extricated. And the unique thing about that is they had to take the person outside the building to get him down. And what did you do on that call?
I was assigned to a ladder group, and we set up the ladder truck at the right angle to get into a small opening on the structure so that he could, when he was freed from the sand, when he was extricated from the sand, they could get him on a backboard and get him out on the ladder, and we could then move the ladder to the ground and get him to the ground safely.
And now you say it pretty cavalier, this is a small area, and actually you had to go up, because I have video of you, and you had to open up this area larger and then cut through steel strapping. Yeah,
there was a ladder, a steel ladder located on the building that had a cage around it for protection, and we had to cut the cage from the ladder to gain access to the opening, and then the people on the interior also cut the opening larger.
To make it larger. So
we cut a section of the cage away and lowered it down on a strap so that we could gain access to the hole.
Now, every time we go on a job on the fire department, it's always different. Have you ever had any experience, real life, having to do a rescue like that in how many years have you been on the department now?
13. No, I haven't had a rescue that would be identical to that. Nope, not where we worked off a ladder to that extent.
And do you think that your training allowed you to cut through all that pretty quick? And
yeah, it was. We had to get power up there, and and run an electric sawzall and
it was night?
Yeah, it was nighttime and it was cold, and we had to position the ladder a couple different times to get to different spots where we had to cut. Once we got in position and the sawzall was ready, it didn't take long to cut through it. Well,
and I got a video of you, and it was a great job you did, Al, and I think it's, you're part of what makes Sioux Falls a great place.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Al. I'm with Todd Balzer. Todd Balzer is another person who's involved in this technical rescue. Todd's part of our USAR team, highly trained. You're a paramedic. You pretty much have done it all. Flight medic on your days off. Yep. Now, what are some of the concerns you had? Because I know we had to get you down into this pit area that this person was trapped, and he was trapped up to his waist, or up to his, I think when we started, up to his armpits in sand. What are some concerns from a medical standpoint that you would have?
Well, with having him, again, it's going to be the ABCs first of all.
Which are?
The airway, breathing, and circulation. That's the first thing I'm worried about when I'm getting down to him, okay? When I was getting down, I noticed he was breathing, he was talking to me, so airway, everything's good. They start worrying about a lot of the compression around his chest, make sure, for breathing-wise, make sure it's not squeezing.
Now, it sounds like it's going to be a simple rescue, but it actually took just over 3 hours.
Just over 3, yep.
To get him done.
Yep. Another big one I had concern once all the ABCs were addressed and they were all good. I was worried about his hypothermia, because as I noticed him, he was just...
Hypothermia means?
Low temperature, low body temperature.
Because of all the sand, the cold sand?
Cold sand has been out in that 20 below for that week before, so the sand's cold. I'm worried about his hypothermia, and I noticed he was just uncontrollably shaking, so I know he's pretty cool, so I knew we had to get him out and get him warmed up.
As quick as possible.
Because we'll start worrying about his heart rate dropping.
And it was really interesting because that sand had such a hold on him that even when it was all the way down, the sand was removed all the way down to his boots, he still couldn't free himself because of the weight of that sand. So it was quite an issue.
It was a very big issue, And then you worry, again, with all that sand, you worry about the compression syndromes around his legs and his chest and everything.
Now, they also had to use torches to get him out because they had to cut holes to remove some of the sand with our acetylene torches. What are some concerns there when you think about treating a patient right next to someone who's cutting with a torch, as far as oxygen therapy or anything like that?
Well, we would be concerned with oxygen. I didn't want oxygen going at the time with those acetylene torches going, just in case it would flash for some reason in there, and then we'd have burns to deal with too. So
yes.
we use barriers between the cutting and him to keep him protected, and blankets and stuff like that. So if it would spark on him, it wouldn't burn him.
I'm with Chris Ersfeld. Chris, you're a driver with Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. How long have you been driving?
I've been driving for about 4 years.
And as we get into wintertime, what's some of the big concerns? What's one of the major concerns that we have?
Well, you can see with the snowfall that we've had this year, obviously the snow is going to pile up, and the city plows come by are going to plow it up, and we've got hydrants that are going to get buried, and that can pose a pretty big problem for us.
Well, when we think about digging out hydrants, why is it so important we get water quickly to a fire?
Well, time is of the essence, obviously, and when we get dispatched to a call, the captain is probably going to be in the book looking for his nearest hydrant where the fire is by, and he's going to find a hydrant in the book closest to the fire, and we get to that fire, obviously, and the hydrant is buried. It's going to take us more time, as it takes manpower to get that fire hydrant dug out, and that's just going to slow us down.
It's not a matter of just digging a path to that fire hydrant. As a driver, how big of an area do we really need to have dug out around that hydrant?
Well, in most cases, we're going to have a 5-inch supply line to that hydrant, and in order to get the hose hooked up and to have working space to get that hydrant opened up, we kind of like to see about 3 feet around that hydrant opened up.
And then all the way to the ground?
All the way to the ground, yes.
Do you know, when we look at this, have you been on any fires where you've had to actually dig out hydrants?
Partial. Nothing that's been completely buried. We've seen some that we could see the tops of the barrel and had to dig down a little bit, to it to get it cleared out, but nothing that's been completely buried. And these posts that they have on top, these flexible, that really helps out. We see the one that they're working on right now is buried, obviously. We'd drive right by it. We wouldn't even know it's there if we weren't in the math book and didn't see that.
No, there's nothing that says that a resident has to dig out their hydrant. We're just asking for people to help us out because we have quite a few hydrants.
Yeah, we have a lot of hydrants in the city. I believe there's over 6,000 in the city, and it's going to give us that extra time that we need. It's going to take to use that manpower to get that cleared out, that we can get water to that, and that firefighter can get off that hydrant right away and get back to his crew.
Another thing we think about is, okay, we dig out a hydrant, but if you live in a neighborhood, you might know the hydrant's dug out, but no, someone plowed out, the plows came by, or it was maybe you have a drift come in, and we really can't see those hydrants 24 hours a day like a neighbor can. Would you mention about when we think of normally, how long does it take, would you say, from when we stop on a regular day without digging out a hydrant, how long does it take to hook up a hydrant, open it up, and pull line from it?
On a regular day without snow?
Yeah.
Well, by the time we get the truck stopped, the firefighter off, he's going to get back to the back of the truck, pull the 5-inch off, pull whatever length he needs out to wrap the hydrant and tell the fire truck to go. It's going to take, a minute and a half.
The reason it's so critical for residents to help us out is when they can shovel it out early and they see their hydrants, it's much easier to do and doesn't take as long. If they don't get dug out over time, these will turn to blocks of ice, takes time, effort, and it's going to slow us to any emergency. We always have a lot of questions about how to prevent fires. Now, a third of our fires in Sioux Falls are related to kitchen fires, and that mirrors what's going on across the whole country. The big thing we want to do is prevent those kitchen fires from happening. Got some questions, but I had the perfect person to help me out. Barry Mogg. Barry Mogg's a fire inspector. And tell me now, how does fire inspection go with prevention?
Well, we go out, we find out how the fire started and why it started, and then we try and pass that information along to the young children of our city and the adults, and pass on that education of what we learned on how to prevent that fire, that accident from happening again.
Now, you work with the school-age kids in Sioux Falls?
Yes, we do.
What ages do you?
Kindergarten through 5th grade.
So that's a pretty good task.
Yes.
There's a lot of kids.
I don't know how many, but it is a lot.
And by the end of the school year, it probably seems like a lot more. Okay, are you ready for this first question?
Yes, I am.
First question comes from Gary. Gary lives in Millersport, Ohio. He wants to know, what's the difference between a grease fire and an oil fire?
Well, in my opinion, a grease fire and an oil fire would probably be the same thing. Oil is going to be a liquid at normal room and temperature. Grease, in my opinion, would be semi-solid.
Kind of like butter.
Right,
Okay.
at normal temperature in the kitchen. But once they're heated up, they're both going to be a liquid.
And they get hot enough, they do what?
They start on fire.
Now, let's say we got a grease fire going on here.
If there's a grease fire here, the best thing to do, grab our lid, put it on the pan.
Slide it across, and
that's going to take away the air, fire's out.
easy as pie.
That's it.
So just take it, I got a fire going on, slide it across, good to go.
Turn off the burner.
Okay, so we got that one. That was pretty simple.
Yeah.
I'm working in the tough ones.
All right.
Okay. I got another one for you. You know, a lot of people do, they take things just like I was going to do and look for something to set it down.
Yep.
Where do they set it?
On top of the stove.
What happens?
The stove gets turned on, and
Or you have pilot lights going,
or pilot lights. Yep.
and then you'll have firefighters visiting your house.
And we don't want them to come that way.
No, we don't. Okay, this one is from Jamie. Jamie lives in, good question, Jamie lives in Sioux Falls.
All right.
Okay, they want to know about some of the things that we can do to prevent fires around our house. Now we're talking about kitchen fires. What's some of the things that we can specifically do in the kitchen to prevent fires from happening?
I would say the biggest one is to not use your oven as a storage container.
Let's take a look and see how they're doing that. We're in
What's
the
in
fire
here?
station. Nice and
Empty.
clean. People will put in all kinds of stuff.
And I think the biggest culprit would be plastic containers.
Tupperware containers.
Yep, Tupperware type containers.
Forget they're in there. If someone comes home, they want to cook. Preheat
I want
the
to make a
oven.
pizza.
Oh, no, Barry. Something healthy.
All right. I'm going to make myself some a healthy dish. I'm going to crank that oven on, and I'm going to heat it up while I prepare my dish.
And pretty soon you got smoke rolling out.
Smoke and fire.
So we don't want. And then what about the top? We talked about people laying stuff on top.
Yes.
Pizza boxes. Classic.
Yep. The top, it shouldn't be used for anything except cooking. And pots and pans can sit on there, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. And this last one comes from Aaron. Aaron lives in T, South Dakota. And Aaron must be a teacher. Aaron wants to know, can I have some tips to tell my students if they should have a fire? What should they do? I'll give my first tip.
Okay.
Know your address. A lot of people call up, they get all panicky, and they don't know where they're calling from. Now, T is outside of Sioux Falls, so they want to make sure they say where they're from. They're T, South Dakota, so we're not going to a similar street in Sioux Falls.
That is correct.
Your turn.
My number one thing would be get out of the house. Get outside and call 911. Keep yourself safe and let us know right away so we can come.
And then also, and that goes right into this, Edith. Who's Edith? Exit drills in the home.
Yes.
So what we want to think about is we want these exit drills in the home, and we want to have a place that you can go so we know everybody's accountable. So let's say it's going to be the big oak tree in the front yard. We have a fire. Everybody gets out. We have our meeting spot already lined up. And you can practice that around the kitchen table after you have a safe and healthy meal.
That is correct.
Barry, I want to thank you very much. You've been a great help. Thanks. Have some big news coming out of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, and I'm here with Don Hill. The big news is the citizen survey came out, and Sioux Falls Fire Rescue had a 95% positive approval rating. Is that right?
That's right. And this was a scientific survey done by another agency, and it showed that people in Sioux Falls have a 95% approval rating of their fire department. They rated us good or excellent, 95% of the people.
And that's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. We're pretty happy with that, of course, as anyone would be with a 95% good or excellent rating. And we're just thrilled.
What do you think attributes to that? Because it's people that may not have had interactions with us or brief interactions or just seen us moving around through town. What do you think?
Some people do have interactions with us and some do not. It just shows that the community has confidence in our department. There are a couple of reasons, I think. One is because people like firefighters.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's a good thing. And then secondly, I think it is because of our firefighters in Sioux Falls. I think they take their job seriously. They learn about firefighting, they practice firefighting, and they focus on customer service. And, you know, it may also have a little bit to do with fire call.
Don't you know it? That's sworn unsolicited testimonial right there. Do you think that also some of the other things we do, like the accreditation, plays into that?
Accreditation is an important part for us because it helps us evaluate ourselves with some objective criteria. And so as we improve our department, which is what accreditation is, you continually improve your department, that plays into how the citizens feel about the department.
Now, you're the chief. What goals now do you have going forth? We hit 95, and that's amazing. But now, do you think there's anything now that you want us to do or change or just maintain for those interactions with the public?
Well, I think that it just shows us that the things that we do, the focus the firefighters have on their jobs and doing a good job actually pays off. That people do care. They have confidence in our department. They rate us good or excellent. And it's really a tribute to the firefighters that are out on the streets, the ones that you see on the trucks, the ones that you see coming around for building inspections, our fire prevention people. It really shows that all of our firefighters do a good job.
So it's all the little things now adding up to big positive results.
It's all of those little things that we do.
Congratulations. Thanks, Don.
Thanks.
It's a great show. You know, when we see these crews, sometimes you see them in the store, you'll see them out in the neighborhoods, you don't realize they're there to save your life. They're great under pressure, and the job they do really makes a difference. So if you're interested in being a firefighter, get on our website because we're always looking for good people, and you might be one of the next firefighters. And we've got to thank the crews out here for doing such a great job, and they're there for you. Now, of course, we've got to wrap up our show. We've got a couple more shout-outs. Remember, shout-outs or questions, Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt, not just for anybody. You got to be pretty cool to get a t-shirt. Okay, this one's from Rebecca. Rebecca wants a shout out to the East Avon Volunteer Fire Department in East Avon, New York. She's been there for 20 years as a firefighter serving her community. And volunteers, they're doing it for nothing. And they're a good group of people. This one's from Chris. Chris lives in, Kibulo, Texas, and wants a shout out to the Bracken Fire Rescue. And Chris is a rookie there, just starting their career. Fire service is a great career. I tell you, there's good people, and they're always glad to be working with you, Chris. And Peter. Peter is from Riverside, California, and Peter wants a shout-out to the USAR team and Riverside Fire Explorers. So, thanks. That's a long ways from South Dakota, especially in the dead of winter. Hey, my name is Division Chief Jim Sideras. and you've been watching Fire Call.